introducing this gentleman right over on this side of me. And his name is Steve Tokita. He's the owner of Caring Transitions. And he's actually the owner and operator of Caring Transitions, correct, Steve?
Yes, that is correct.
And they assist families and businesses with any tangible personal property in their homes, workspaces, or storage when they need help taking care of it all. How many of us need help? Moving, selling, organizing, donating, disposing of everything to get rid of a lot of this. And basically, they help homeowners and people remove the stress of dealing with stuff. I don't know if anyone is like my generation, if you remember George Carlin. I wanted to actually use that video as a teaser, but his language was too dirty, so I couldn't use it. But that is a funny spoof. Anyway, they do it all. And so without further ado, I'd like to put our hands together, clap for Steve, and I'm going to mute everyone so that he can speak.
Thanks, Bonnie, for that great intro. In fact, I got a clip of Carlin queued up in case we want to watch that later. So perfect. That may be a good one to do it. There's like one semi-bad word, but not too bad. So yeah, and everybody knows that Carlin has a mouth that could. But anyway, my name is Steve Tokita with Caring Transitions. Let me see. I've owned the business since 2013. It's a franchise business that we brought in, and we help people deal with their stuff. So tangible personal property, the fancy word for stuff in your house. So if you took your house, shook it upside down, that's basically everything that falls out is all of your stuff. And that's what we take care of for people. So obviously everybody collects stuff over the years. And if you've had a residence or house for 30, 40 years, dealing with all that when you need to deal with it can be stressful. And I think they correlate the amount of stress in somebody's life with the amount of stuff you have in your home as well. So it's directly correlated to the more stuff you have, the more stress you typically have in your life.
And Steve, that really makes sense because one of the leading reasons when I meet with people, I meet with a lot of homeowners, one of the leading reasons that they put off any sort of construction project or even repair work is because they just don't want to deal with the stuff.
Yeah, so that's a big problem, but we help people and guide people through that process of dealing with it when it needs to be dealt with. So what do we mean by that? Well, typically you're in either like Bonnie mentioned, a renovation situation, or even more stressful is a move situation where you're being moved. And sometimes it's a forceful move, meaning sometimes people have to get moved out into, assisted living, nursing care, that kind of situation. And then now it's stressful, not only for the individual, but also their families that get involved too. So we help a lot. In fact, when we tell people what we do, the most common response we get back is, "Oh, where were you 6 months ago or 2 years ago?" When they had to deal with it. So we are trying to get the word out so people know that this is an option, and we can get rid of a lot of the stress involved with dealing with all those things. So tangible, yeah.
I know we're talking about renovations and home projects because it's a building show, right? But I heard or I read that your company also assisted. Is it a catered experience that manages the Pomai Ballroom, the Dole Canyon?
Yeah. So yes, correct. So that's the owners of Zippies, but they had decided, of course, because of COVID, to shut the whole ballrooms there down. And so we were assisting them in liquidating the inventory in there and helping them clear out all of the stuff that needed to be taken care of with the business. So we do help businesses as well when they need help with it. Sorry, hold on, let me get rid of this. Yeah, so we've helped numerous businesses close down. In fact, there's a lot of restaurants that we're in the process of assisting with paring down inventory. Some businesses, they just want to generate some capital too. So we've helped service businesses that had inventory on the side clear inventory and help them generate some funds to help with the business as well. So those are situations dealing with anything to do with the stuff. We have processes that we go through that can help them cleanly take care of everything in the home. Plus, they can leverage the stuff in the home to help pay for services. So in a typical project, most people have enough stuff in their home that they want to get rid of, that we can potentially hold a liquidation sale for them. So one of the big parts of our business is our liquidation business. So on the liquidation side, one of the most common questions people have once they figure out what we do is, how do I sell my stuff? And that's what we help people with as well through that process. That distinguishes us against some of our competitors. So most of our competitors don't have a solution to do the liquidation piece cleanly. And we have a piece that we do an online auction process. So everybody heard of eBay before? Well, we have a proprietary site called CT Bids, and that helps to liquidate all the items that you can sell and helps generate funds to help pay for services to clear the home. So in some cases, people actually get checks from us after we help them out. So
is it common for them to make can you
so I would say it's not common, but it can happen depending on what you can liquidate and leverage to sell. So we get a lot of people that have old jewelry they never touched in decades, and it's just being stored somewhere, and we can turn that jewelry around and help them fund the actual clean out. Some people have vehicles that they have to get rid of as well, and so we can sell the vehicle. And if you sell a vehicle, typically we get very close or above blue book value, so they can actually fund the actual move with the sale of the vehicle, as an example. So we've done it all. And of course everybody has unique things in their home. We have a relationship also with some mainland people as well that we can help to get appraisals done if needed. We have some local appraisers as well. So one of the things that we do for people is help them with valuation of what they have. So one of the things that everybody knows is they have something worth of value because their friend told them that it was worth something. Well, it's only worth something if you find somebody that's willing to pay for it. So we help people if they have specific items of value. And everybody heard the story about somebody that found something in their basement and they sold it at Christie's at auction for millions of dollars. But most people think they have something like that in their home. And what we help to make sure is that we can ground them. If they have to go through that process, we can help them process too, because you can't just go out and say you got $1 million item and sell it for $1 million. You have to go through a process. Especially if you go to any of the major auction sites on the mainland, the higher end sites, there's a process that you have to go to make sure you got everything in line with authenticity and also the provenance of an item, the history behind an item. So we can help people through that. I would say that's a very rare situation that you'll come across, but if you do want to handle it properly to get the best, most out of that item that you have.
I can imagine you must be a big weight off. You must take a big weight off of people's shoulders with your business.
Yeah, so part of it is, again, it is overwhelming, and that's the part where once you think about dealing with it, you don't really think about it until then. But when it comes down to it, it can be a big burden for people. It is one of the most higher stressors for seniors around too. So that's a big one, because most people think, oh, my kids are going to take care of it for me. And in essence, what you're doing is you're putting that burden on your kids a lot of times. And when it finally comes, the realization comes around that, yes, somebody has to deal with it, then it becomes a big issue for families. So we can help them through that process and get them through it and guide them with some advice on what to do if we can't help you directly. And one of our big things is education. So this is a good type of format for us to get the word out and also educate you on how to deal with those types of things, because it is overwhelming.
Everyone here, I got to know Steve because he came to Graham Builders. His mom they needed to downsize mom's house. She was living by herself. and she needed someone to keep a closer eye on her. So we built an ADU on the back of Steve's lot, and that's going well. But Steve, you were just sharing with me that you're going to be using your own services shortly.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens with these situations with downsizing in particular is a lot of times that's exactly what you're doing. You're reducing the amount of stuff where you're going to be at to make it easier for yourself, of course, because you have 30, 40 years of accumulation in your house. And sometimes it's overwhelming just taking and maintaining that house. So a lot of people have decided to downsize. In the case of my mom, we were also a little bit more concerned because she needed a little bit more care. So getting into a situation where she could be closer and also being well taken care of was important to us. So that's why we went through the process of downsizing her into the ADU. And now that we've moved her in, of course, she can only move a fraction of her stuff. Now, what do you do with all the stuff that's left behind? And that's what we do. We come behind that. We'll actually do a clean out for her and potentially do a small sale for her as well, and generate some funds to offset the cost. So, but in that sense, what we're going to do is clear the home and get it rented out sooner versus later. And so what we help people to do is get to the equity on your home if you're selling it, or the rental value and rental income from your home if you're deciding to rent out your home afterwards.
You know, Steve, it's interesting because I hear two things. One is the faster you get a home cleared, the faster you can rent it. And from a builder's perspective, I keep hearing from people that, okay, I want to hire you as soon as I clear out the home. And as they wait, and let's say it takes them, because you're going through personal property, and one case that comes to mind is her aunt's home, right? So it's not really her stuff or her mom's stuff, it's her extended family stuff. And she feels this burden of this weight of responsibility to make sure that she's able to save what's going to carry on the family name. And meantime, circling back to the money point, construction costs escalate every month. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. As far as residential construction, we usually see in the industry about a 5% increase per year. So you can imagine if you wait half a year, that's 2.5% increase, or 2.5 less house you can build because you're losing all that money. So what you offer, Steve, not only is a good peace of mind, but it's also a good financial sound investment.
Yes, definitely. And if you think about it also, if you're talking about the rental value, if you just sat on the property for 6 to 8 months, times what can you rent it out for? A 4-bedroom house now can go for thousands of dollars a month. So that income is what you're trying to get at. And the sooner you can get to it, the better, right?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So you mentioned the process of liquidation. So, I mean, like, how does that work? Do you actually help the homeowners sort through the items, or tell us a little about that?
So in any situation, there's usually some sorting and organizing involved, but the sale process is through our online auction site. So what's good about that right now is with COVID especially, if you go to the mainland, you see a lot of live estate sales where they basically display everything at the home, bring it out, put it on tables, price everything, have the public come through the house, look through, buy what they want to do, and leave over a short period of time. So typically those are 1 to 2 day events where people come on the property to buy. So it's like a glorified yard sale, garage sale kind of situation. Okay. Our process works where everything is online. So what that does is it takes away that stress of having people rummaging through your stuff on your property. So what we do is we come on site with our crew, take pictures, get descriptions, do the postings, everything gets marketed online, and sale ends on one day. We skip a day, we hold a pickup, and everything gets cleared up on pickup day. So it's a very clean process. And if you have deadlines, we work backwards from your deadlines and make sure we can clear the house before your whatever project you have in mind. So if you needed to renovate the house as an example, and you got the contractor scheduled to come on site on one day, we can make sure we go and do the pickup a couple days before that so the house gets cleared up. Our sales that we do, typically we are clearing about 97% of what we put on our auction site. And so we are dealing with, say, a fraction of the stuff that you would have to deal with for clearing. And in fact, we do the clear outs as well. So if you need to have everything disposed of or donated at the end of the process, we help with everything to do with the clearance. So our job is to get it from current condition to broom swept and ready to do what you need to do with the property by the end of the project.
So do you help with the sorting and
Yeah,
such?
yeah. So a lot of it is that decision-making process, right? So if there is decision-making to be done, we can send one or two people up there to help with the sorting, especially if things are high up on a shelf, in closets, in drawers. You may need help with that as well. So we help with those types of situations, making sure that everything gets past the owner and decisions can be made on everything. Okay, and that's usually the what takes the longest is the sorting through items.
I can imagine. I mean, yeah, but it would be so nice to have somebody outside to really guide you on making those decisions.
Correct. And it goes through a lot speedier that way too. We have goals we set up with the clients on, how long they want to do this process. And then we would, then set up a project schedule to see how fast we have to go through our house to meet that schedule. And then that gets adjusted. If it's too ambitious, maybe we scale that down a little bit. Okay, or if you got a hard deadline that's coming up, maybe we have to, spend more hours doing it and helping you through that process as well.
Steve, do you find that elders tend to hold on to their items more so than young, or is that sort of a fallacy?
Yeah, and it's a hit or miss. So again, a lot of times it's the relatives that are having, like you mentioned, it's a relative, and they're held by guilt because you can't get rid of somebody else's stuff because you have. So what ends up happening is it ends up at their house, right? So it gets stored somewhere, and they don't want to get rid of it, so it ends up being stored somewhere else. And we've done that before for people as well. So people that can't let go, maybe the parents had to move out, but they're still around, and they don't want to get rid of anything while their parents are still around. So what they want to do is maybe move it off into a storage unit, and that has happened before, where we take all the stuff and we pack it up and move it into storage for them. And then when they want to deal with it, then we end up clearing out the storage locker later on.
Do you recommend that?
Again, that's a cost issue, right? Because if you store something in a 10 by 20 locker, it's going to cost you $500-600 a month. So the question is whether it's worth spending the money to do that. Because yes, if you leave it in there for years, it could cost many tens of thousands of dollars to store it. And people, again, sometimes they realize it, and then that's where we're also clearing out storage lockers for people a lot.
Oh,
So that's a common type of job that we do, which is before it gets to the storage wars days where they auction it off because they can't pay for it. We go in there and clear it for the client and get it out of there and make them some money, or at least save them some money from paying additional months on that storage that they figured out they haven't gone back in to look at it in all that time that they put it in there. So we've had people that store it for 4 or 5 years and finally figure out, yeah, I never went to the locker once. So what do I do with it?
oh, interesting. Now, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that you mentioned COVID in the sense of auction. You do an online auction, it's more sanitary. Has COVID in any way impacted your business positively, negatively, or in any other way?
So strangely enough, it's been a positive impact just because the live stuff all went away. Nobody's doing in-person anything. And so our process works very cleanly for that. Another thing that's helped is we can operate in a lot of the condominiums around town, especially since they have specific rules for access. A lot of them won't allow any kind of live estate sale on property. And so our process turns it into just a move-out day, and we manage the whole process for them. And it usually works pretty cleanly for even if they are in a condo situation.
So it doesn't matter to you if people are in a condo, business office, doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Storage room.
It's really all the same process. Another thing that's helpful for a lot of people is the fact that we're not getting rid of anything. you'll be surprised that people without the option will just throw everything away. And so instead of filling up the landfill, you're actually giving items to people that will use it, and it'll get some love and use. I don't know if you know Marie Kondo in her tidying technique, but
Yes,
it's also
Evan and I actually gave a presentation on that a couple of years ago to the teachers.
for,
Yeah.
yeah. So her philosophy is you want to spread items of joy. You don't want to keep it and hidden away and not doing anything with your stuff. So it's a way to help clear out the stuff and also get use of it again, and give it some second life for some items that have been sitting in the closet. I have a funny story. When I first started, we actually did a little cleanup, decluttering for my mom's house. And of course, in the back of the closet is all of her wedding presents. Back from the
Wedding?
50s. Yeah,
Wedding?
wedding,
Like done,
wedding
done, done?
from the
Oh,
50s. They're still in the original box. So small appliances, crock pots, all that kind of stuff in the original packaging. And they actually sold for quite a lot because we had stuff that wasn't even opened yet.
like yeah, I can see that. That's
There were
amazing.
some of our old toys that were supposed to be given a present thing, but then wasn't opened, still in the box. And all the toys went for some fantastic amounts that were, at the time for us, that was one of our first sales. So that was kind of surprising to us. But
Kind of reminds me of the Big Bang Theory, right? You know how they buy those old toys and they don't want to
yeah,
open it from the box. Yeah. Great. For those of you who are joining us today, we are going to do Q&A at the end, but I believe, Steve, did you tell me that you had some things to share with us visually?
yeah. So I have some samples of projects. Let me share my screen real fast. Into projects here. Start this. Okay, so again, tangible personal property is basically a fancy word for all the stuff in your home. And that's what we help people take care of. Let me see a little bit of facts here. So we are a national network. We are the largest provider of asset management for tangible personal property across the US. We have about 200 plus locations all across the US. So typically we do a lot of interstate moves as well. So people that are moving interstate, sometimes we can help them on both sides with that relocation. And we're a complete set of services. So it's not only just what we talked about, but it's getting you settled wherever you need to go as well. So in our relocation services, we not only help you pack up and get everything out of here, but we also help you resettle where you're going to. So space planning for your new site, taking things out of the boxes and putting them away in cupboards, dressers, closets, and walls, and getting you set up. So basically we can do everything to get you so you leave for the day, show up in your location, and everything's set up for you. Okay, but here's some of our projects. So this is actually a decluttering project that we did, and this is one of the first projects we did. So how many of you guys have a room that looks like this? So
As builders, we see that quite often, Steve.
yeah, so
homes, yeah.
what happens is as you get that junk room that just stuff piles up in, becomes a little creature that grows on its own, and all of a sudden it looks like this after 30, 40 years. What we can do is we can actually take the items in that room, get rid of all the clutter, and guess what? There may be some treasures in there that you find. And these are some of the stuff that we are actually auctioned off for them and help them to sell. And that helped offset the cost by about 50%.
Wow.
Okay, so let's go through another situation. So this is their living room. This is the same client. And of course, you can't see everything. It's kind of dark and dingy. Well, when you open it up and clear everything up, wow, they have a nice sectional there that they can actually use again. And the whole room brightens up. They have nice linoleum tile on the ground, and everything looks a lot brighter and easier.
Yeah, I wonder if some people would actually, once they're you're complete with them, I wonder if they stop and think, oh, maybe I don't need to remodel any longer. I have enough space.
Yeah, but remodeling wise, this actually helps too, because yes, you definitely can access the places that you need to. these guys were just in need to do that. Plus, if you look at the before situation, try being a senior walking around in that. That's
Yeah.
pretty hazardous, right? So one of the big things is fall prevention. And if you had to walk around that before situation, tripping and falling quite easily done. Break a hip and then it becomes a big situation, not only for yourself but your whole family, having to do extra care, that kind of stuff. So this actually helps. They had a bunch of rugs on the thing too. So if you notice the after situation, we got rid of all the rugs. Those are also tripping hazards. So getting them in a safer situation, that's also a big thing in doing these as well. This is a lanai. This is before and after, but lanai's also collect stuff. I don't think anybody used the chairs in about 20 years or so. Like, there's like an inch of dust over everything, and we're able to clean it up. They had actually some construction equipment out there too, so we were able to help them sell that. And this bench table was in pretty good shape, and we were able to sell that for them and clear it out later as well. But lanais and garages. How many of you guys have garages that you can't put vehicles in anymore? So those are typical situations where areas that may benefit by clearing it out and getting you usable space in your home again. And that's a big thing that people uh, get out of the services that we do as well.
We've actually been hired to build a second garage because their first garage is full of stuff and they need a place to park their car. Yeah.
So it became a storage room. That's a lot of what happened. So this next situation is a client that actually had a eBay business. So he actually collected and sold a lot of, if you can look in the shelving, there's a lot of ceramics there, but in the before situation, everything got cluttered and he became ill and unable to take care of everything. The family had moved him into hospice, and so they were left with dealing with clearing up the home. He was still alive at the time, and so we decided just to clear it up and straighten it up for him. So we cleared up this room. This is his little dining area and living room, and we were rummaging around. Once we cleared everything out, that closet-looking thing on the left here in the after picture is actually a trundle bed that they could finally use, and actually it was usable. So when the family was there, they could stay at the apartment and use the bed. But ton of stuff. So in this case, we're still just clearing him up. Another room that we cleared up. This is another view from that same room. So as you can see, there's basically this is what we call a pathway house, meaning you only got a pathway to the living areas. So kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and that was it. Everything else was filled, not to the ceiling in this case, but in some cases they are filled to the ceiling. So
yeah, pathway houses are very common for that in our experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody's familiar with the show Hoarders, so we have that's a national show that's been in syndication, so it's all around. But if you go to I think it's on TBS and some other, there's a show called The Hoarders, and the founder and owner that started that program is called Matt. He's a guy named Matt Paxton. And so he got into the business because his grandfather had a saying, find out what nobody else wants to do and you do it. So he got into the business not knowing anything, but knowing that nobody wanted to deal with these types of situations. And part of the process is you help people a lot. So this is actually, again, a situation where family was in need of help. They were flying back and forth to try and take care of this from the mainland. And we can handle the whole situation for situations like that where they don't need to fly back and forth. We take care of the situation and leave them in a better situation up there.
What a great service you offer.
Yeah, so that's one of the actions that when we first got into it, because I always wanted to look for this, and I've been in project management before this. So this is basically project management, and the clients are very, very well accepting and nice, and that's a good change versus the corporate environment that I used to be in.
Great.
Okay. Let me see. So you also mentioned the COVID issue, right? So part of this is we still can operate within COVID even when we had all the restrictions, because in most cases we're helping with relocations and helping them with house sales and that kind of stuff. And we're still able to do the social distancing. All my crew are masked up. Um, in certain situations, we're also gloved up, depending on what the situation is. So in this situation, we probably would be wearing gloves. There was, again, most of these situations that are in the really cluttered houses, a lot more dusty environments that we work in, but we go through it as quickly as possible. And in some cases, we do also donate dispose projects as well. So some cases where it doesn't make sense to do a sale, maybe it is a donate and dispose situation. And we will deal with whatever charities our clients want to donate to. So it's still their stuff in any cases that we're dealing with clients. So you have full control over what we're doing with everything. And if you have a favorite charity in mind, then we will donate to that charity. Just need to make arrangements to see what we need to do to help out with those types of situations.
So you're senior friendly. You're definitely green because you're looking at reuse, and you're philanthropic as well. That's a great trio. Yeah.
And we've done some benefit sales too. We just had one that we had publicized with Ben Ipa, who had just passed away recently. But at the time, he was looking to get some help with his wife was looking to get help with his healthcare costs. So we held a benefit sale with all of his personal boards, and we generated, I think, 5 figures for him as far as trying to get use of all of his boards that we were able to sell for him.
That's wonderful. Do you have more to share, or did you want to open it up for questions and answers?
Yeah, we can open up for questions and answers as well.
So
Oh, does everybody want to listen to the George Carlin?
Well, first of all, let's ask, is anyone offended if there is strong language? Because George Carlin's language is he's not real bad. He's not super bad, but he's funny. He's really funny. Yeah, if there are no objections, then yeah, let's go ahead and watch this.
I just have a question. Sure. We're not trying to move anybody out, but we're trying to renovate our house, but we've delayed in starting because we don't know where to start with all the stuff in the house. Yes. And basically, well, it's probably more than that, but to totally reno the kitchen and fix an old leak, and then the flooring, the carpets and flooring throughout the whole house. Two-story house, 4 bedrooms and family room, and only, well, not quite every room, but most rooms have at least one floor to ceiling wall of stuff just piled up. So far, the garage is filled, but the cars still are able to get in and out. And a friend of ours said, do it one room at a time and find one room that's not so cluttered, move that stuff out, do the carpet flooring on that one, then put the stuff back from another room to that one to do the next room. And Bonnie's shaking her head. Is that it? And I don't know if there's an easy answer. Our neighbor down the street, it looks like he hired a pod that's been sitting in his front driveway for weeks. And I assume that's what he's doing, is interior.
Yeah, that's one thing. You can park a pod on your lot and load everything up in there. And then you don't have to, the thing with what you're proposing is the moving part, right? So think of.
Yeah, so we are beyond where we feel safe and confident in hauling a lot of physically moving the stuff ourselves. And some of our friends and their children are getting too old for that too. So we're probably going to have to hire a lot, but to coordinate it all, you got any suggestions?
Well, that's
Steve,
part of it.
before you speak, Steve, I just want to address the suggestion that your friend had. And FYI, to mobilize room by room is going to cost you more in construction. It's going to cost you more in flooring. It's going to cost you more in labor. And the reason is each time you mobilize the labor, right, there's going to be a minimum. And you may not be laying floor out that really even covers the minimum. So that's why services like what the service that Steve has is so wonderful, because he'll be able to help you clear the whole floor so they can just come in a day and a half and have it all taken care of. So Steve, go ahead. I just wanted to address that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have movers that will actually move out and store your items for free. Well, not for free, but there's a cost built in it and it's included in the cost. So you could move everything out, store it at the movers facility, and then they can move it all back in afterwards.
But
that's probably the cleanest type of solution. Or as you mentioned, your neighbor had the pod. That's another solution. You could park a pod there.
but I could tell our stuff wouldn't, even the main pieces of our stuff wouldn't fit in one pod. And we both, I think, want to go through it. We get rid of some things, but probably not the bulk of, the accumulation. We bought the house in 1970. We did change carpet in 1985, and it's needed everything since then. Oh, we did do windows and outside and an outside paint, but inside.
Yeah. So one of the big things we do is, this is more project management. So we can actually help you plan through that with your contractor. So that's another advantage, right? So typically we're working with a lot of realtors as well, because the realtors are going to tell us whether they want to clear out, leave things for staging. The contractor is going to say, hey, clear out this section, clear out that section, and there may be a timing involved. So that's what we want to try and do, is put a project together for you that says, okay, here's what your goal is. Let's clear up this section by this date, this section by this date, or clear out the whole house by, to prep for whatever you need to do.
Okay, that could be very helpful. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so you also want to plan for the spacing, as you mentioned. If it doesn't fit in whatever you're planning to put it in, then it doesn't make sense, right? So we need to look for a situation that's going to handle whatever you need to move out.
Okay, well, I know who to call.
Yeah.
So Steve, do you have a slide with your contact information, or should I put that up in the chat box?
Let me see. You can put it up in the chat box. I think I may have one at the end of the slide. Let me take a look.
Okay.
I have one. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Carrie.
And Eileen, I'll give you also my personal cell in case you need to schedule anything. The best thing to do is to set up a free assessment up front, and as far ahead as you can, because the planning part is important. If you can get in front of it and put a plan together without having to rush anything, that's usually the best situation.
Now we haven't even attempted to know where to start, like contractors, for instance.
Right here.
Right
I can
there.
help you.
Yeah, there you go. So that's why I'm here this weekend with y'all. So we're gonna make this work.
Steve, did you want me to put your cell phone on the chat box?
Yeah, I'm typing it now. I can put it out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Eileen, I mean, all jesting aside, if we meet together, or if we at least chat, then I can determine whether, first of all, Grand Builders is the right fit for your project. And if not, I normally have recommendations. So
Okay.
either way, you're going to walk away with good information. And I'm going to put in a shameless plug, Steve. On April 8th, we have our monthly Building Your Home for Life seminar. I highly recommend it. Our founder was invited to be an inspector for the state regulated industries complaint office. So this seminar is purely educational, informational, and it's a really good start for anyone that's wanting to do that. So I'm going to put that out there.
So Bonnie, should I ask for your phone number also?
Sure, I'll type it. If you haven't been to our Let me just put that in.
You could just tell it to me. I've got a pencil in hand right now.
Sure, it's 593-2808. Sorry, that's a local area code, 808-593-2808. And email is bonnie@grahambuilders.com.
Bonnie, Bonnie, at Graham Builders, GRAHAM Builders.com.
That's correct. Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And in the, oh, there it is. 932.
I put 10 too many.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Okay, my contact information is in the chat if anybody wants to.
Where is that one? Steve, 203-0422.
And then I want to also highlight one more thing. So we do the liquidations on our auction site. So the other side of it is we also sell a lot of people's things. You can actually get nice furniture, jewelry, automobiles, equipment, tools, all kinds of stuff that we find in people's homes get put up on the auction site. And so it's a good way to get things to fill your home sometimes that you need to at a cheaper price, or at least at a discount typically. So it's hon.cpbiz.com. If you go up, we just had a high-end sale we did with a lot of antique furniture. We have a sale ongoing with some Hawaiiana stuff. So
Okay. How do you do with techie stuff? My husband's got the Florida stealing every generation of Apple computer that has ever been created. He's got backups for,
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
and
So-
things like that.
Yeah, nowadays everybody has it on their mobile devices. So
Yeah, no, he's got the big equipment from the
Big-
past and everything current also.
So yeah, it's a good way to also help out people by reusing their stuff. And sometimes we get a lot of people that have new stuff, so the box hasn't been opened.
Hey,
Yeah.
thank you,
Well,
Eileen. Eileen,
thank
do you have other questions?
No, that you did a nice job there. Thank you for being there for us and answering my question.
Yeah,
Awesome.
anybody else that joined have any questions? You can rehash some stuff.
This house has been over 40 years old, so it was time to remodel. We decided immediately that we wanted to go with Graham Builders. We said, okay, these are the things that we wanted. They worked with us on the plan and the budget, so that was very, very helpful. Oh, we said, wow, it's a showpiece. Everything was so professionally done, so we're really, really happy. I would promote Graham Builders any day, any day.
Graham Builders, building your home for life. Call us today.